Welcome to Apex Magazine. Strange, surreal, shocking, beautiful. This is the Apex Magazine podcast. I'm your host and producer, Allie Grauer. Welcome, everyone, to the February episode of the Apex podcast. I hope January treated you well and that you are staying safe, healthy, and happy as we head into the new year of 2022. Recently, Apex Magazine hosted our third live stream Snap Judgment event. Apex editors Jason Sizemore and Leslie Connor were joined by Arlie Sorg, co-editor of Fantasy Magazine, to share their insights and critiques. The submissions were 250 words or less and were collected from Patreon supporters and magazine subscribers to be read aloud on stream, anonymously, of course, by myself. It was so much fun to host and so fascinating to see what the editors had to say. Basically, I would read the submission out loud. The editors would raise their hand at any point they felt they would stop reading in the slush pile. And then once all three hands were in the air, we would stop and have a brief discussion about why. If you're interested in learning about what that process looks like and watching that replay video, you can find it at bit.ly/ApexSnap3. This is the third time Apex has hosted this type of stream, and we're looking forward to doing more in the future, about every 3 months or so. So we'll see you next time in the spring. If you're interested in submitting something of your own to the next Snap Judgment, all you have to do is become an Apex Magazine subscriber or join our Patreon. Visit patreon.com/apexbookcompany for more information, or you can subscribe to the magazine at apex-magazine.com. And now, let us turn our attention to this month's story. How does grief change when your loved one can come back for a day, for a weekend, for a few visits every couple of years? Apex Magazine proudly presents Episode 86, Sheri at This Very Moment, by Bianca Sayan.
Sheri at This Very Moment, by Bianca Sayan. Read by J.V. Hampton Van Sant. Every time I wake Sheri up, I want to sit her down and distill, reduce, refine. What is important to her? What experiences would she want to wake up for? Every time I wake Sheri up, she is a quivering, glassy mess for the first several hours. She isn't quite my wife, not yet. She is always fragmented by the process and hasn't quite reassembled. She coalesces behind the curtain of the recovery room into someone more familiar, someone solidly, sharply Sheri. Our reunions are incredibly imbalanced. She just saw me yesterday. It was fraught, me clinging to her, sloppily giving her promises. I'll take care of them. I won't fail you. I'll be the mother you always were. I haven't seen her in 3 years. A string of 1,000 days of going to work, shepherding the kids through 1,000 micro-crises, my now solitary absolutions. She has never come out of the recovery room without that pinched look that says, "Give me the bad news." We've promised to wake her up for the bad as well as the good, so she's asking me straight away, good or bad? Everything is fine, I say. We just woke you up for Leslie's graduation. Sheri perks up. Law school? Yep. Neither Leslie nor I could deny Mommy that pleasure. Neither of us could face her if we had disappointed her either. Boston College. Commencement is tomorrow. We thought we could have a little family time. In the early years, we woke her up a lot. After the kids graduated from high school, we agreed to spread things out. It sounds cold, but it's a choice. See Mommy and shorten her life, or don't. Sheri has promised to never ask after the cure, and I have promised to tell her immediately after she wakes up if there is one. Dr. Odebier gave me the all clear. No signs of progression. Perfect, honey. Perfect. What do you say we get you fed? We can do our Coles notes. Sheri winces because the last time I woke her, I had to tell her that her favorite place in the North End closed. I've got a new place to take you. Someone who used to work at the Red House. The look in her eyes says that she is still tired and betrayed by all the little things that die while she is away. I drive in a new direction. In fact, new geography. I'm torn about taking her to Quincy Wharf, a stretch of land that didn't exist 6 years ago. But fuck it, the lobster rolls are good. They carry the beer Sheri likes and a decent version of those fussy iceberg wedge salads she always picks at. She's wearing her poker face as I turn off of Crabtree Drive, near Quincy, into what used to be the beach. Instead, a wharf juts out. At the tip, a faux hole-in-the-wall restaurant, Maxie's. Sheri's little nose wiggles disapprovingly. I sigh. Trust me, I haven't forgotten what you like. I order her a salad, a French 75, 3 shots of gin, please, a glass of white, mussels, in wine, always, and a lobster roll, light on the mayo. For me, a bowl of Manhattan chowder and a beer. She's nibbling at her salad persistently, a good sign. Coles notes, please, love. Want to start with me? I don't know, she says coyly. Do you have any news for me? 15 years, and I still haven't achieved tenure. Yet. I'm very close. Doubleday published my book on the history of Cyril Briggs and the Crusader. Got an option for a second book. I think it will be hard for the university to avoid committing this time around. Sheri harumphs. Good. It's about time. They don't deserve you. My biggest fan. Sheri pushes the salad plate briskly aside. Okay, the kids. Give it to me. She always comes out assuming a grocery store tabloid's worth of accumulated missteps. She only admonished me the first time, but the gravity of my load becomes more apparent every time, and I can see the mantra behind her eyes. She is all alone, and she is doing her best. Okay, Leslie is graduating. You already know that. She's going to article with a firm in Rochester. Sheri nods. Fine. Colleen kind of cooled on the modeling last year. Enrolled in nursing at Salem State. She likes it a lot. Nursing. She wrinkles her nose. God, she's an abominable snob. It's a good fit for her, I say gently. We did not plan on raising a flock of lawyers. Sheri takes the hint. Barty? He's taking a little break from consulting. Been bumming around Malaysia for a couple months. But he's back to see you. I don't want to hear a peep out of you about his beard. He's still in vacation mode. She eyes me. And they're all still single? No one's serious yet. And you? Me what? Dating? I laugh. No, darling, I'm very busy. Dating is awful, and there are no Sheris lurking on these dating apps. She seems both disappointed and satisfied. I don't want you to become an old maid. You are the last person that should use that archaic term. If you don't like it, she says primly, I suggest you find someone open-minded to keep you company. I roll my eyes. You want to go see the kids? They're waiting at home in Jamaica Plain, as usual. Sheri pretends to study the dessert menu. She's always caught between a deep desire to see the kids and a deep wariness. The first time Sheri woke up after the kids had left for high school, Colleen was a completely different creature. A foot taller, hair an inhuman electric green. She appeared like a specter and nearly gave Sheri a heart attack. Of course, for us, it had been a 3-year process. Colleen's sudden final growth spurt, her aggressive colonization of the color spectrum, her dalliance with alternative modeling. Sheri completely missed the piercing period, and I still thank God for that. We would never have heard the end of it. For Sheri, she risks coming back every time and not recognizing her own children. I'll settle up, I say firmly. There's cake at home. Sheri sighs and slips her coat on. I knock at my own front door, a warning signal. "We're here!" hollers from the inside. Of course, nursing school had mellowed Colleen out a little bit. She pops her head in the door, her cloud of crow-colored hair tamed into a braid. Just a tiny nose stud left. "Mommy!" "Come here, girl," Sheri says crabbily, hugging her tight. "Your hair is very nice," Sheri murmurs. "Much less alarming than last time." Colleen pulls away, flustered, smiling. Leslie and Barty accost her at the same time, squeezing her vigorously and without an ounce of decorum. Personality-wise, all the kids take after me. As Leslie runs off to get the cake, a plump little corgi staggers in. Sheri visibly blanches. "Who is that?" "Oh!" I'm completely flustered. "I forgot." "That's Baldwin," Colleen announces nonchalantly. Sheri stares at Baldwin, the little interloper. "You forgot?" She repeats slowly. I've broken a cardinal rule. No omissions from the Coles notes. Colleen picks up Baldwin. "He's a sweetie. Here, sit down and have a cuddle with him. You won't regret it." She sits Sheri down in a lazy boy and plops Baldwin in her lap. He curls up immediately, sticking his nose under her arm. Colleen has a way of disarming Sheri by not noticing her recalcitrance. I can picture her wielding the same skill at the hospital, whistling cheerfully through stitches and shots with a nurse's efficiency. "Well," she says crabbily, stroking his fur, "it's good you have some sort of company." And I know I'm forgiven on this one anyways. Leslie is cutting cake and Barty is showing her pictures of Langkawi, and once again, I remind myself to be grateful for this. Some people don't even get this. Some people don't get teased about being spinsters. They're just widows, and that's an entirely different thing. Later, the kids drag themselves to their old bedrooms, and Sheri and I crawl into bed. I've got her favorite sheets on. The stupid standing lamps I hate but she loves still glowing in both corners of the room. We don't have sex when she visits. Someone might hear this and think we've both soured, but it's a distillation of our love, into something functional and desperate, focused on just being together. There is some romance and some tragedy to this, like two lovers aimlessly haunting each other for centuries in their church graveyard. It's something, and that's better than nothing. I've been mourning for years. It's a fresh cut every time she reawakens, her seeing me so much older, trying to measure the years in pallets and folds. Me always struck just how she stays the same. It's emotionally fraught, and it's just not very romantic. Besides, Sheri is very, very tired. We run our hands through each other's hair, kiss noses, and spoon insistently. I sleep the deepest sleep I've had in 3 years. When I turn over in the morning, Sheri is up, her glasses perched on the end of her nose. She has somehow found a copy of Cyril Briggs and the Crusader, Black Communism in Early 1900s America, by Tasha Warner Brown. She notices me out of the corner of her eyes, but does not stop scribbling notes in the margins. "It's very good," she comments. "The title is awful." She's right, of course. I make her breakfast and she reads through the French toast and eggs. I don't mind. I know what she's doing. She is trying to suck in the fruit of my labor because then she will know what I've been thinking and doing for the past 3 years. It's all there, in that book. She's still reading while I drive us to Leslie's graduation. When we park, she sighs and closes the book. "I'd like to read as much of this as I can before I go back," she says wistfully. We mosey over to the college green and find our chairs, wait through the hubbub. I tap her gently when Leslie comes on stage, and she snaps up, camera ready. "I'm so pleased, love." I know. "She works so hard. You'd be so proud." She nods firmly, as if to say, "Of course." Barty already has the barbecue going in the back. No one else is invited. When Sheri is awake, core family only. We have to soak each other in while we can. Barty makes all the burgers, and Leslie tells Sheri about the 3-year battle she waged to get her degree. Teachers, rivals, Achilles' heels. Barty and Colleen give her a rundown of the decent literature to come out since last time. Literature she'll never be afforded the time to read. And yet, of all books, she makes time for mine. Sheri does not ask about nursing school, and Colleen doesn't volunteer. The barbecue devolves into a crash course on modern politics, emerging technology, notable catwalk looks, fad diets, economic fluctuations, and significant scandals. By 8 p.m., Sheri is bushed, but I gamble and make her an espresso. Colleen usurps Baldwin's spot on her lap, desperately trying to fit all 6 feet 2 inches into her mom's arms. Sheri looks up at me sheepishly, obviously delighted at Colleen's little regression. By 10, though, they're both out for the count. I reluctantly guide Colleen through a zombie walk to her old bedroom, pick up Sheri, and plop her onto her side of the bed, as gently as my aging body can manage. As I slide in next to her, she snuggles in seamlessly against me. Right before I fall asleep, my face buried in her hair, Sheri's voice jars me out of semi-sleep. "Love, see if you can pester Colleen into a nurse practitioner program. She's capable of it. I know it." I've stopped breathing rhythmically, so she knows I've heard. Silence. then a softer, "Love you." I squeeze her gently, and she wiggles deeper into my belly. Even quieter. "Baldwin seems like a good choice." The coveted Sheri stamp of approval. In the morning, Sheri is absent from bed. I find her in the kitchen, halfway through a pot of coffee. My book is closed in front of her. She's in a state of repose. Baldwin is sprawled in her lap, eyes closed and tongue out in a demonstration of deep contentment. "I finished it," she says unnecessarily. "I'm glad. I'll have her notes to keep me company for a little bit. The second one needs to be about the American Negro Labor Conference and their contributions to workers' rights," she says decisively. "It's a natural extension, and necessary to restate." Of course, she's right. I wake the kids up, pour them coffee, goad them into giving their mother a proper send-off. Colleen sits blearily next to Sheri on the couch, her head on her shoulder. She is dangerously close to a big show of emotion. I give her a look. Don't cry. Don't make Mommy feel guilty. Don't ruin her last day. Don't bring down her mood. Everything is fine. We've managed to squeeze 15 more years out of the 8 months she was given. We are nothing if not efficient. Sheri hugs each of them stiffly, whispering something in their ears. By now, it's a ritual. I bundled her into the car, and we stop off at the north end for cannoli before we head to the clinic. Sheri eats hers in the car in the parking lot, always with surprising delicacy. I've somehow coated my sweater in powdered sugar, but she looks as sleek as a cat post-grooming. There's a glassiness to her now that alarms me. I need her to be stoic, to go gently into her sapphire coffin. If she doesn't, the theater of the whole thing comes apart. She should be kicking and screaming, but every time, she's had the grace of a regent. There's a fragility in the air, and I'm scared to disturb it. Sheri speaks first. Her voice is almost perfectly hers. "I don't think either of us anticipated this going on for so long." No. Sheri was supposed to be under for 5 years, tops. A third stage of FDA trial was going to bloom into a cure, and Sheri was going to roll back the stone and strut out of her tomb. But FDA approvals have a way of dying on the vine. I say nothing. She turns to me. "Is this cruel for you?" I am sincerely, deeply aghast. How could you not dying be cruel to me? I've been given a gift, and I will never not feel this way. What no one seems to grasp is that any moment of any day, I know Sheri is safe from even death. There is a millennium of compiled literature yearning for this very thing, to be able to place the person you love in a protective cocoon that defies the laws of nature. And I have it. Why us? One would think that she's indulging in a bout of self-pity. That would be so deeply un-Sheri. But she continues. What makes me too good for death? Other people are dying all around us at this very moment. I'm not special. chance. A confluence of technology, poor predictive models, a surprisingly permissive insurance policy, bullish pharma forecasts, and family connections. And here she is, a fucking miracle. I can write a book, but I can't articulate this to her, not in a way that will dissolve her guilt and make her feel worthy. Also, selfishly, I don't care that we're not special. The die has been cast. I will not re-roll. But I try to articulate it to her anyways. You enduring is the great joy and the great miracle of my life. Let it continue to exist, please. Sheri snuffles a little. It is the 5th time she has cried in front of me, usually only reserved for auspicious days. When she's done, there's nothing to do but go inside. I walk into the freezing room, and I think, should we talk? Are there things that remain unsaid? Should I ask her if she should wake for me at all? Is our love worth her life? She bends over and pecks me on the lips. I'll see you in 5 years, Bunny. Tops. Part of me is horrified, part relieved. She has offered up a few more precious days of her life to spend time with me. But I want her to leave me behind. I want to rot away in my stupid mortal coil as she flies by us. I want her to wake up in a world of eternal youth, or at least one where she lives long and well. It's not worth it, I want to whisper. I'm not worth it. But I don't. Sheri tugs gently on one of my corkscrew curls and points at what must be my grays. You look just perfect. Just how I thought you'd look at this age. Like a school dean or a poet. I laugh. I don't know why she thinks they would look the same. I realize at this moment that I will never see Sheri at 50. I will never know how she silvers and goldens. I want to crumple, but instead, I peck Sheri back and prepare my litany of promises. I'll live without grief and age slowly to wait for you. Our children will bloom, bloom, bloom. We'll think of you every day, but not suffer for your absence. We'll honor you in everything we do, and every time you wake up, it will be worth it. Worth every moment of the little slivers of life you sacrifice to see us again.
Bianca Sayan, she/they, works in civic technology and resides in Toronto with her spouse and daughter. You can find her previous work in Analog, Augur Magazine, and Tesseracts. J.V. Hampton Van Sant, they/she, is a voice actor, tarot reader, and writer living in Western Massachusetts. She can be heard most frequently on Creepy Podcast. They also can be found on most social media platforms under the screen name Red Black Golden. That's REDBLAQUEGOLDEN. Music in this episode includes Those Lost by Moments from Soundstripe.com. The theme music for the Apex Magazine podcast was written and produced by Alex White. If you enjoyed this podcast, visit apex-magazine.com for more strange and beautiful fiction by Bianca Sayan and many others. Our genre magazine also includes interviews with authors and artists, fiction reviews, and nonfiction by some of the leading voices in the business. Subscriptions are $24 annually. That's apex-magazine.com. Or support us for as little as $2 a month at patreon.com/apexbookcompany. That's all for now. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time.